Please welcome Director Visit Iceland and Creative Industries Promote Iceland, Inga Hlyn Pálsdóttir, and founder and CEO Skift, Rafat Ali.
All right, this is the first time I'm sitting in like a few hours. Let's play the video and then I'm gonna get into it.
We sleep until the sun goes down. Hold your horses now. Through the woods we ride. We sleep until the sun goes down.
All right, how many of you have been to Iceland? Wow, a lot of people. So I've been 6 times in the last 5 years. I've sent at least a dozen couples on their honeymoon to Iceland, including Elizabeth and Joanne, who a lot of you know. Elizabeth is our editorial director of the forum. They went on a honeymoon the day after last year's forum, which I planned in many ways as well. So I have a lot of love for her. Thank you for being here, Inga. We took our whole team to Iceland in 2014. We met you and obviously toured the country. I've been back. My wife and I went on our baby moon as well last year. So anyway, I know way too much about Iceland. So amazing story. As a country that did not had the biggest marketing boom in all senses of that phrase in 2010. Yeah. And the amazing story is like 20-25% growth every year, which is startup type growth. That's crazy that's happened. We did a piece earlier this year in June. Andrew went there, met you and a bunch of other people on the interesting challenges that a country like Iceland, which suddenly the country, it became the largest industry. Mm-hmm. It used to be aluminium and then fishing and then banking, and we know what happened to that. But infrastructure-wise, that's just a crazy problem to solve because there's no quick fix solution.
I wouldn't say we have a crazy problem at the moment, because in 2010 we actually gathered under one umbrella called Inspired by Iceland, and that's how we've been working together in the past few years with the main industry stakeholders and the government. And we put the focus on that we wanted to get the off-season going in Iceland, because we had the infrastructure there. We had the summer season going amazing, except maybe because of the volcanic eruption, it wasn't going really well. But in general, it was going really well.
The funny part was people don't realize life in Iceland was okay.
Everything was okay. It was around 6 farms.
It's just the Europe that was screwed.
Yeah, and the ironic was that you could actually fly to Iceland, but just not anywhere else in Europe. So that was an interesting story to tell at that time, because there was a crisis. We were in crisis at the time. And you said about the banks. We had the bank crisis, and the companies thought we were going to be picking up from that. But then you had the crisis around the volcano, and we started, okay, let's work together. And when that crisis was over, we said we need to work on the off-season, so let's start working on that. And since then, we had the focus on traveling further around Iceland, more of the regions in Iceland, spend a little bit more. We always want them to spend more when you travel to Iceland, stay longer, and then the off-season. And that is actually what is interesting. It has happened. The winter season is the most growth. And I was told being crazy.
So how did that happen? So a lot of people here, they're in the tourism industry, other parts of the travel industry. The seasonality is obviously the biggest thing in travel. Northern Lights, obviously, I guess, was a big selling point. That, by the way, is a hit or miss every time you go to Iceland. It's very hard to see Northern Lights. So anyway, but go ahead. Sorry.
You're supposed to chase the northern lights. You're not supposed to, you know.
You're not supposed to see them.
But thinking about the winter season in that sense is that Iceland has so many offerings. We have so much things that to offer around the country in that sense. And what we did is that we had to start offering and we had to start showing people what we had to offer. All pictures in brochures from travel agents all summer. All videos that we had been making, all the marketing material all summer. Now I get a travel agent coming to me and showing what he's selling Iceland, and that's just winter. We needed to get to that point. But social media was also picking up at this time. And I think social media has been the biggest boom for Iceland.
So Twitter, Facebook,
Twitter,
Instagram.
Facebook. I mean, in 2010, we had never done any social media for the destination in that sense. I mean, people, of course, other people. But we did, the campaign was about getting people to tell the story.
Yeah.
Getting Icelanders to tell the story, getting the tourists to tell the story, getting everyone. We even got the Prime Minister to tell the story with us, and the President.
Prime Minister, by the way, for those who have not been to Iceland, you just walk by, he lives around the corner, or she lives around the corner, and you can knock and go in. That's not true, actually. But really very accessible.
It is very accessible. Even the new president that we have, Guðni T. H. Jónsson, he is actually, runs marathon with everyone. That's how accessible it is. So you have a totally different scenery in Iceland. But thinking about the winter season is that you had to show it. You have to show what's on offer. And I think at times people were afraid of talking about the winter. They were afraid of showing the snow.
Well, the problem is you have ice in your name, so there's that.
I know.
Turns out.
Yeah, I'm not going to argue about the ice, but I like Iceland in that sense. It's cool. I think that's the creativity and that part of it is, I think that's what the name stands for.
So the boom, obviously the volcano happened so that the recall became big. Everybody was very curious. My first time that I went to Iceland was a week after the volcano fully stopped, end of May 2010. I sold my first company and then went on a sabbatical. I was scared I'd never traveled alone in my life for leisure. And so I said, Iceland seems like a safe enough place. Turns out the whole volcano had happened. This was I planned before. But, and then then it stopped completely. I was single and I did solo travel, so I did go. And the crazy story is that I went and drove and kept asking people, where is this volcano? And there was nobody around. And like for an hour, I'm standing at this crossroad, and then a police car comes and says, what are you looking for? I said, I'm looking for the volcano. And it says, it's in there, and your car can't go up there, so don't even think of going. And it was all ash all around. Sorry, just a detour, but it's changed completely now.
It has completely, but also to think about, there have been volcanic eruptions since then.
Yes.
Actually, a few of them.
Does that bring in more tourists?
Yes, because the interest, Iceland is this beautiful because of the volcanic eruption. That's what makes the landscape.
So Indonesia should learn from Iceland.
All the geographical.
And market there.
Yeah, exactly. They have to learn about it. And I mean, it's not about bringing tourists over. It's about being sustainable as well. I mean, tourism is important for Icelanders. Like you said, it's one of the biggest industries in Iceland now. And I think we're starting to realize that it is the biggest industry and that we need to be careful about how we treat the tourism industry in that sense. And I think for the future, I think we always, just around like the Airbnb and all of that, we have to be careful about our lifestyle, our sustainability around the nature. You even have to think.
You guys are very proud of like your heritage, your being close to nature, the cleanliness of it. Some of the stories that we have reported and in that piece came as well. The tourists that are not accustomed to the cultural norms of, let's say, your country or how fragile the ecology is. How do you educate them without offending them?
It's a good question, because we actually started a bit of a campaign this winter or last winter, because the discussion in the industry was we need to tell people how to travel around Iceland in a safe but still a happy way. So we started a campaign which we called Iceland Academy, and it's all about the travel behavior, and also we educated travel agents as well. We have like a training toolkit online to think about how you can travel around Iceland in a sustainable way. And I think this is important. I don't think you will get everyone around this, but as long as you get...
But I hear like the police have been busy the whole summer because they have to rescue people from all kinds of places.
Yeah, but if you look at numbers, there's not more accidents in Iceland than it was before. So, but thinking about it, with the numbers, you have around 72,000 people more in the summer in Iceland and 22,000 in the winter season. So, of course, that's going to have some effects on the healthcare system, on the police. We have rescue teams which are voluntary, and they, of course, is voluntary. Wow. Yeah, and they will be running around the country helping people, and they do it with, they're happy to do that. And of course, this is everything that you need to think about. But I think for also for the government to think, like you said, it's now the largest industry. It's not, it's actually double. That's what we think is going to end up this year. It's going to be bigger than both the fishing industry and the aluminium.
Put together.
Yeah, together. So for us, this is important. And I think we did a survey with the Icelanders and asking them about the industry. And 90% say that this is important for the economy. 80% say that this actually creates jobs opportunities. Some of them say this has a negative impact for the nature. Yes, we know that, and we have to work on that. We have to work on parking lots, we have to work on paths around the country and so on. But this is a part of it. This is something that we need to do.
It's a good problem to have.
Good problem to have, but again, not all the regions in Iceland are experiencing the same growth.
Right.
So there's so much more that we can do.
Sounds like America,
introduce.
by the way. Not all regions have the same growth.
No, exactly.
That's a whole campaign that's going on right now in America. So the question is, in terms of airport development. So obviously everybody has to fly there. There's no other way to go to Iceland. The Keflavik airport has had explosive growth. And there have been photos of the airport in the last month, 2 months, of like people jostling and hours of delay and stuff like that. You can't just solve it immediately. That's going to take a while.
Yeah, it is. But to be fair, you can sail to Iceland. So Carnival is coming because he was here this morning. You can sail with a cruise ship to Iceland as well. And that's a popular industry as well. But airports, of course, are important. And you're not going to solve that immediately. But what airport is not under construction? I've never been to an airport, I think, that has not been under construction.
Yeah, I think we know a little bit about
we
that
know
here.
that. So that's part of it.
How many of you flew into LaGuardia?
But one thing that we have been doing, though, is that we introduced a routes development fund for other airports in Iceland. There are 2 other international ones, small ones, but they will introduce you to new regions in Iceland, Egilsstaðir and Akureyri, the north of Iceland and east of Iceland, which is going to be interesting if someone will pick that part up, because everyone are looking for new experiences, everyone are looking for something different.
How many times can you go to the Blue Lagoon? Well, actually every time, but...
You can go every time. You can go to the 170 geothermal pools around Iceland as well and experience the northern lights in them, or, you know, just relax, be on your own and so on. And so much still to experience in this. But everyone are looking for something different, authentic in that way. And I'm always a little bit proud of saying that there's no McDonald's or Starbucks in Iceland.
You know what there is? Subway. Freaking everywhere.
I know there's a Subway, but there's no McDonald's and Starbucks.
Like, so I don't know if that's any different. So in terms of the growth story of Iceland, how big is it? People discovering it themselves, doing independent travel, or is it obviously agents are a part of it, but like, what is the mix you're seeing?
It's a mix of everything, basically. You see, if you look at numbers of where people are hearing about Iceland, it's through the social media, it's through the internet, like we all do, but through friends and families as well. And people tend to travel on their own. We can see that there's a huge difference if you go maybe 20 years back. People were traveling with buses all around Iceland on a travel pack. Now they will maybe get a travel package, but with a car rental, and travel on their own, but they're still on a package, but they will say that I'm traveling individually, which you're not.
Yeah.
You're still on that. So you have a mix of everything. You have the packages, you have people just organizing everything on their own, and so on. So travel agents are still really important for Iceland. Airlines are really important. The internet, the social media, and so on, it's all part of it.
What's the biggest, fastest growing country for you?
Sorry?
Fastest growing inbound country.
US.
US, is it?
US. And just to compare that, that's, in 2010, there was 50,000 people coming from the US. Today, up to date, today is 280,000 that has arrived to Iceland.
That's because I see on my Facebook every second person is a photo from Iceland. Literally over the last month is what's happened.
Yeah, but there's no routes to Iceland as well. You know,
Well, I mean, the airlines, Iceland, obviously,
Airlines.
Iceland here has
Exactly.
and WoW Air and Delta,
Delta.
and I'm guessing others.
The
as well.
three of them are the largest ones flying to Iceland at the moment, and they've all been expanding their routes, which is important. But then we also have to nurture the people that are selling trips to Iceland and educating people about Iceland and what Iceland stands for. And I think what's interesting for Iceland is that everyone thinks it just stands for nature, but we are seeing in our numbers that people, and that's been part of our strategy, is to tell people about the culture, about the creativity, about the food, and that interest is and awareness
Talk
is
about the
increasing.
food. I know we're running out of time, but talk about food, because the Scandinavian food movement, I think, has also had a huge effect on how the Iceland food, which was a joke until, not a joke, imagine like, it was not bad, it's just a butt of jokes.
It was a bit of a
that,
joke.
That came out wrong, sorry.
It was a bit of a joke.
Or like, you know, Shark's Head and all this
Yeah,
stuff.
yeah.
Which when in 2010 I went, was not that great. But in 2016, when you go, it's a whole different world.
Yeah, it's a totally different world. We always make a joke about this, that when you Google Icelandic food, you will get sheep heads, which people think that's what we eat all day. You know, it's not. It's not
When
like
was the
that.
last time you ate a sheep head?
Probably 4 years ago. But today you have the Nordic cuisine, we are a part of that, and it's developed in so many ways. And I think that's part of tourism developing in Iceland as well, is that you get better restaurants, you get more restaurants, which we would not be able to keep up if it would be, you know, fewer. You have more activities, you have cultural events, you have the music and the design. Everything is booming in that sense, and I think that's something
And the
that we all
football team
appreciate.
helps as well.
And and the woo, yeah.
Yeah. All right, we'll end it there. Thank you very much,
Thank
Inga.
you.
All right, thanks.